I'll do. Got another story here, obviously. This one's going to be quite a tragic one. I believe this dates back a couple of years, the original story, although this news is very, very new. It's to do with the suicide of a prisoner in Scotland, and an inquiry's, I believe, finished. So we're going to have a quick read through this, and I'm going to give some of my opinions going through it because I've got some very, very strong opinions on law and order, and I don't think prison is actually a solution to a lot of crimes that's being used, although I don't believe in a softly approach either. Those of you who've watched my videos before probably know where I'm going to be going to, but I think it would avoid a lot of incidents like this. So, inmate bullied in weeks before death, inquiry told. A woman who took her own life at a Young Offenders Institute was being bullied before she died. A fatal accident inquiry, FAI, has heard. Katie Allen, 21, I don't know why she's in a Young Offenders Institute. I don't know, because to me that she's an adult at 21. I'm not saying that would have been any better of a situation for her. This is more just general interest, really. I would have thought young offender would have been 18 and under. However, I suppose maybe the class under 25s or something as young offenders. I genuinely don't know the answer to that. I just find that quite strange. It's just whilst reading it. Was found dead in her cell at Polmont Young Offenders Institute on 4th of June 2018. So this is, 6 years ago now, really, near, 5.5 years ago. She was convicted on March 2018 after admitting a drink driving offence. Now, drink driving, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make excuses for it. You shouldn't do it. However, unless you've killed somebody or something like that, I don't think you should be going to prison for it. It's an absolute, I think, waste of everybody's time sending a drink driver. We'll find out, see if it says a bit more about it before I give any further opinions on that. But just for drink driving, I don't think you should be going to prison. Well, unless you're repeatedly doing it, maybe. The inquiry is looking into whether the deaths of Miss Allen and 16-year-old William Brown, also known as William Lindsay, could have been prevented. Well, absolutely. If they weren't in the prison, they wouldn't have topped themselves, would they? Mr. Brown took his own life in October 2018, 4 months after Miss Allen. He had been remanded in custody after being deemed a potential risk to public safety 3 days before his death. Right. See, I don't know anything about either of these cases, so although I'm saying if they weren't in prison, they wouldn't have done it. I don't know if they actually deserve to have been in there or not. So again, this is just, although I'm saying comments like that, it's just first impression comments, really. Polmont prison officer Heather Morrison was allocated as a personal officer to Miss Allen and described her as lovely and open. She told the inquiry at Falkirk Sheriff's Court that she did not know Miss Allen had a history of self-harming when she first met her. Well, it's really got to be factored into it as an accepted fact now, because I think young girls self-harming now is somewhere in the region of about 50%. I mean, depression and anxiety and things like that amongst young girls is almost, it's the overwhelming majority. I can't remember the actual number off the top of my head, but I do know with young females now, and probably to do with the internet and various apps and things, and the social pressures in regards to that. And also a drop in religion and not having meaning in life anymore as well. And unfortunately, a lot of adults have reneged on giving leadership to children. So now kids are running around saying that, trans women are women and all that rubbish, whereas responsible adults should be turning around and giving them guidance and telling them how the world actually works, rather than placating the insane ideas of young people. Not that I didn't have insane ideas when I was young either. Young people do have insane ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how you learn, by making mistakes often. You don't learn anything if you don't make mistakes. That includes ideas. But that takes more mature people guiding you and saying, no, that's wrong. This is right. This is wrong for A, B, C and D reason. She told the inquiry at Falkirk Sheriff Court that she did not know Miss Allen. Right, sorry, I've already read that. When asked if it would have been useful to know this, Miss Morrison said every young person who arrived at the facility was vulnerable. That is true, and it would not have changed the way she was worked with. Miss Morrison was shown a log of intelligence reports which recorded an incident where Miss Morrison had been bullied for tobacco in April. It's very common in prison, especially with people who are very well socialised, and I do say it quite often in my videos, learn to defend yourself, because the institutions will not protect you at all. Now, I'm not saying going into prison and kicking off with people is a wise thing to do, but you at least need to be able to stand your ground and defend what is rightfully yours, because there are a lot of very predatory people in prison, and they don't care how vulnerable you are. They don't care if you're depressed. They just see you as an easy mark and an easy target, and they will be like vultures on a dead carcass straight away onto you. And they're like sharks. They can sniff that blood, as in the weakness, from a mile away. Oh, and it's terrible for them. Absolutely terrible for them. And it would not have changed. So, however, she said she was not aware of this. And just before she died in June, it was recorded that Miss Allen was receiving abuse and threats from inside the prison. Very, very common, unfortunately, inside prisons. And this, again, drink driving at 21 years old, you don't deserve that happening to you. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't drink drive. Absolutely, you should not drink drive. And if anybody is watching this is thinking about ever doing drink driving, do not do it. Never mind the actual legal side of it. Do you want to have on your conscience the death of another human being because you couldn't be bothered getting a taxi or walking, or you just thought it'd be a good idea just to nip around? Oh, I need a couple we need some more beers. I'll drive around to the shop. It'll be all right. Is it worth it? Do you want that on your conscience? I wouldn't want that on my conscience. And you've got to live with that for the rest of your life if you do that to somebody. And there's no bringing them back. Never mind going to prison. Never mind all the crap you're going to get in prison. Even after all that's behind you and you're out of prison and you're back in the real world again and you're trying to put your life, you've got to live with that every single night of your life, that you've done that to another human being and you've taken their life away, all because you couldn't be bothered walking and doing the right thing, you know. And again, this is young, impulsive people, and even older people do it. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying drink driving is exclusively a young people's thing. Some people never wisen up to it, you know. But I'm not saying I'm exclusive from this. When I was younger, I made some horrendously stupid mistakes. It's one of the reasons why I joined the army, was to get the foot up my backside that I needed to sort my life out. You know, I'm far from the sin-free individual of the world, you know, and believe you me, I've got some serious questions to answer when I meet him upstairs, so to speak. But you know, so I'm not trying to judge anybody either, but you know, a young person has made a stupid mistake, as young people often do, unfortunately, you know, because your brain hasn't fully developed till you're like 24 to 28 years old. You know, your risk-taking part of your brain still developing. You know, she doesn't deserve going to prison and then being bullied to death, you know, to committing suicide and being extorted in prison for things like tobacco and that either. You know, it just absolutely is not right. Miss Allen said she could not remember if any verbal abuse was directed at Miss Allen, and added that it was just part of culture, just part of the culture in Polmont. Just part of the culture. Where have we heard them sort of excuses? But well, listen, look here, people of Scotland, if you're watching this, that was the sort of crap that we had in England for decades about grooming gangs. Those girls were just making informed decisions. I know she's 13, and I know they're giving her drugs, and I know they're plying her with alcohol, and I know they're luring them into the kebab shop with things like free chips and free kebabs and stuff, and taking them for rides in the BMWs. But those girls, it's just part of the culture that those girls are involved in. That is victim blaming right there. Right there. I'm telling you now, that person who said that statement, in my opinion, needs a good shoeing for that. And that person losing the job and a damn good thrashing. And I'm not even joking. That is disgusting to come out with such a flippant comment like that. Just part of the culture. Go take your mouth to the toilet for a poo. That is absolutely shocking that you'd say that. Miss Morrison told the inquiry, that's wound me up, that. It's really wound me up. How Miss Allen had a positive effect on one of the young women in her hall who was a difficult individual. Well, obviously, it's a young offenders institute. There's going to be lots of difficult individuals in there. You know, that's what it's for. But it sounds like Miss Allen wasn't a difficult issue and wouldn't have necessarily been a further threat to society. She said Miss Allen was unlike other inmates and she had not been in a secure unit and not had social work involvement. Yeah, so again, this shows that she's an easy target. She's a weak mark, and straight away, all those other people in there, they'll have seen her straight away for what she was, an absolute wet lettuce. And you know, it's like chucking a sheep into a lion's den at the zoo, you know, or a little lamb, and expecting it just to crack on and be all right for the visitors. That is just savage. You know, it's absolutely. That is ruthless. Asked if her influence was positive on others, she replied, I would say some of them. I'm going to skip through. It doesn't seem to say much more about what she went in. Now, I can only go off what it said. I will carry on reading this article in a minute. But I want to talk about it because obviously I've been alluding to that I don't think she should have been in prison. Now, I am, and some of you who are new listeners to me, if you've never watched my videos before, you might find what I'm about to say quite shocking. But please carry on listening. Don't just switch off, because I will justify what I'm going to say. Now, I don't believe this young lady has seriously harmed anybody, and I'm not saying that she was justified in drink driving. I do think what should have happened instead was that really we should have a system where people are caught drink driving, but there's been no people hurt. There should be a system in place involving private doctors who are or nurses who are embedded within the police at the station where they can take blood on site. If a person is found guilty, they're charged for the blood being taken. That's so they're not waiting, say, 5 or 6 hours at an NHS hospital, and then the alcohol can lower to a level where it gets out of the system. So straight away, you pull the person, breathalyse them, right, you're over the limit, straight to the cells, take the blood out immediately. Night judges who are on night to deal specifically with certain things like drink driving and say, there'd be other things as well that I'd categorise in there, but we'll just stick with drink driving for now. I've judges who are on night within so that these people can see a judge once they've sobered up next day, and this will be the same with drug drivers as well. So they can see a judge immediately, and so long as they have the solid evidence there, I do believe that these people should be dealt with within 24 hours, and they should be flogged. And I know you may be thinking, "Oh my God, Dave, that is barbaric. Why the hell would you want to flog somebody?" Well, I tell you what. You go and look her parents in the eyes and you tell me I couldn't bear your daughter being flogged or anybody being flogged. That's cruel. So I'd rather send them to prison where the vultures can bully them into suicide. Because I'm telling you now, in my opinion, and I could very well be wrong and we will never know the answer to this, but I honestly believe that young lady would still be alive now if she'd have been flogged instead of sent to that prison. I genuinely believe that with my hand on my heart. And I firmly believe that doing the right thing and doing the nice thing are not ever the same thing, or very rarely the same thing, I'm afraid, when it comes to big boy decisions like this. You've got to be cruel to be kind sometimes. And I do believe with lower level offences like this, instead of sending people to prison, which in my opinion, this is costing money. We have a shortage of prison places as is already. So she's taking up a spot that could be used for a more serious offender. You know, it would mean that offenders don't have to be released as early either, who are actually a threat to society. This young lady is clearly not a threat, or when she was alive was clearly not a threat to wider society. And I doubt she would have even have been a risk of reoffending. But I do believe that somebody who may consider drink driving again, if they get a lash within 24-hour period, it's like training a dog or a young child. Punish them immediately or deal with the problem immediately when it's happening. There's no point trying to deal with it a week later. It's the same with these court cases where they drag on for months and sometimes years before the person goes to prison. Although you've in an abstract sense, you understand that you're going to prison for the crime. It's your deeper subconscious part doesn't make that connection because it's too late. It's gone. At the end of the day, we are still just animals. You know, we're still designed to live on in the plains, hunting animals, or in the woods. You know, and not getting eaten by bears. You know, we are still those pack animals, and like wolves and lions and hyenas will deal with each other using physical reprimanding tactics for more subordinate members of their packs. They'll bite them and grab them around the throat, put them into submission. Now, I'm not saying we should brutalise people, but we do definitely need to bring back a form of corporal punishment for these non-violent but serious crimes. Like drink driving is very serious consequences. You can destroy people's lives doing that, including your own. But this young lady, she may well have had a job. Let's just pick yourself. You right now watching this. You decide for whatever reason to get drunk tonight. You go out, you drive around the block a few times, you park up, you get out your car, and as you're getting out your car to go back in your house, copper's there. Come here. Breathalyses you. You're over the limit. You go to prison eventually. Whatever your job that you're doing, if you're going to prison for more than a month, you ain't got that job no more, right? You're going to prison for 6 months to a year. Guess what? You've lost your house. You ain't got your house no more. Your pension's gone. Your savings have gone. You come out of prison, you're not going to be able to get hired again. Very, very difficult to get a job because you've got prisoner on your record. Your life is absolutely in the gutter, and you're going to spend the rest of it trying to claw scraps of it back together again, if you ever can fix your life again. If you're really, really gifted and talented, you may be able to. It's going to ruin your life for after you get in prison. And this is the thing: prison isn't supposed to be a lifelong sentence for these sorts of things. It's supposed to be a punishment that's supposed to end when you come out of prison, but it doesn't, because you've lost everything. Whereas you get a lash. within 24 hours, 48 hours of committing a crime, yeah, it's going to suck. Yeah, it's going to really hurt. You're going to go home. Your parents or your family, your loved ones are going to obviously condole you, like, oh, that's awful. But your friends will be like, yeah, it's horrible that, mate. But you know what? You shouldn't have been drink driving, should you? So you've only got yourself to blame, really. So you learn your lesson. But guess what? You've still got your job. You've still got your home. You've still got your savings. The rest of your life isn't being a punishment being dished out to you every time you wake up to your miserable existence. And that's why I think prison is crueler than giving somebody a flogging. And it's not because I'm some sicko who gets a kick out of hurting people. I don't get some sick pleasure from thinking about, oh yeah, criminals, let's thrash them. I actually want what is best for those people, so they can carry on being productive people after they've been disciplined. I don't believe in eternal guilt. That is not our place. The only person who can judge us is our Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ, and God Almighty above. It is not our place to pass judgment on those people. We are there just to simply punish them, to help them continue trying to be a good person, to help them. And that is what it takes sometimes. Anyway, I've gone on a little bit with that. I'll carry on with this story, and then we'll leave it there. But I hope at least that you've got something to think about with that. The inquiry also heard, actually, oh, sorry, I've already read that bit. No, deny strongly, yeah. It was recorded on documents that she could be seen by prison officers as they did not have access to health records. He told the inquiry that he would observe a person's presentation, demeanour, eye contact, tone and speech during these meetings. The trouble is, though, especially with females, they can be very good at hiding their emotions. Women are females are incredibly good at emotional manipulation, and they can be very, very, very effective at hiding these things. That's why autism, funnily enough, is very hard to diagnose in young women, because they're incredibly good at masking autistic traits. I only know this because I'm on the autistic spectrum myself, so I've had long conversations with professionals and done my own research into it. The inquiry previously heard how Miss Allen was found to have traces of an antidepressant which was not prescribed to her during a post-mortem examination. See, that's another problem going to prison as well, is you're getting exposed to drugs and things like that as well, because prisons are just out of control. They can't actually keep, they can't, unless you're hermetically sealing the prisoners in the cells, there's no way of keeping control of them. At a family visit the day before she died, her mother had told prison officers Miss Allen was being berated by other prisoners and was terrified. The inquiry continues. Right, absolutely shocking story. Shy of, obviously, I can only go off what the story tells at the very beginning, was that she was arrested for a drink driving incident. I don't believe she's hurt anybody. I'm not aware of that. Obviously, I may change my opinion if I find further details out, but as stands, I don't think she should have gone to prison. I really don't. And I do believe that she'd still be alive today if rather than being sent to prison, she'd received a form of corporal punishment. It's absolutely tragic. This happens to thousands of people. Hundreds of people every year will get their lives absolutely destroyed by the prison system for no good reason, really. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that's giving you something to think about at the very least, even if you don't necessarily agree with me. I know I've got a very strong opinion, and I admit I actually could be wrong, but that is my opinion. I'm going to give it to people, so at least other people can have something to think about. If you found that informative or interesting, or you've liked that, please like, subscribe, put a comment below. I do like to reply to people as well. Take care and bye-bye.